Hello and welcome to the latest edition of Untitled Reviews. Now, if you look right at your screen about now, you'll see a nondescript looking black box. You may be wondering, what's inside? Well, if you've taken a look at the video title, you'll know that inside is Cherry's brand new HC 2.2 gaming headset. One of their first forays into this particular sector, having been long-time greats in the world of keyboards and office-based mice for many years now. And it's fair to say that the world of budget-oriented gaming headsets, or slightly more mid-range affordable ones up to about 75-80 quid, where this specific headset sits, it has been pretty crowded for a few years now, but there are some notable winners. Things like Razer's famed Kraken line of headsets have long been the standard where budget headsets should reach. You can even experience that by first-hand for yourself by looking at the most popular videos on the channel. You'll find one of them comes from a couple of years ago when we had a look at the Kraken X Lite, the real budget option from Razer, and also the HyperX Cloud Stinger, which has been my go-to pick for a decent headset under 50 for a very long time. In fact, I've still got one upstairs from a few years back, and it still serves me well for when we're benchmarking these headsets. But enter stage right, Cherry's HC 2.2. Can it stand out from the crowd? Inside the box, things are kept nice and simple. You just get the HC 2.2 itself, complete with detachable boom microphone and manual. If you go onto the website and have a look, it's worth noting that Cherry say the HC 2.2 will be shipping with some removable ear cups, which are going to be sold separately at some point, hopefully later this year. So, on the design front then, and well, build quality indeed, how do the HC 2.2s actually feel? Well, what you'll notice as I kind of spin these round is that it's more of a minimalistic kind of style of kind of gaming headsets. Gaming headsets really these days tend to go one of two ways. They can either go for a slightly more minimalistic and sleeker approach, or go for some over-the-top sharp edges with loads of RGB, while the HC 2.2 falls into the first of those two categories. It's relatively well made, with a nice blend of kind of hard plastics around the headband and some relatively plush leatherette on the ear cups and headband, which feels pretty decent when this headset's also on your head, as much as it's on a desk being reviewed. What this allows for is a relatively sturdy build, although what you will find in some instances is that the plastics can rattle around a little bit, so do be a little bit wary of that. Now, once you plug the HC 2.2s in, the only real thing that gives these away as being a gaming headset, apart from this relatively sizable boom microphone I've got off to the side here, is these slightly small but relatively tasteful illuminated Cherry logos on either side. Everything is kept looking remarkably simple, and also means that the HC 2.2s generally look pretty stylish. Truth be told, generally though, I haven't really understood this kind of RGB on the outside of a headset. I mean, it looks good from anybody who happens to walk into your room while you're gaming or on a call or something, but once you've got the headset on, you can't necessarily see it as such. So always puzzling a little bit, but actually it looks pretty good, and the lighting itself is pretty vivid too. While we're on the outside and focusing on that, media controls are kept within relatively easy reach on the left-hand ear cup where the wire comes down. You'll find volume up on the left, volume down, on the right, and a mute mic button on the top. There's no kind of fiddly dials or anything, and the only kind of real port on this thing is the 3.5mm jack where my finger is, where the microphone goes. Everything's very easy, everything is very simple. But before we move on to actually how the HC 2.2 sound, I just wanted to talk about padding, for instance. I mentioned that there's some relatively plush padding on these ear cups that makes these pretty comfortable, but truth be told, there's not really much padding around the headband. Usually some manufacturers can go over the top with padding, which makes you feel like you're being kind of swallowed by the ear cups and headband, as it were, but the HC 2.2s opt for something a little bit simpler. Some more padding around the headband would have made these a little bit more comfortable, but for general day-to-day usage, you should be absolutely fine, or most people will be anyway. Now, of course, the main reason people buy gaming headsets, it's not because of the way they look, but also the way they sound. Well, how do these particular Cherry-related gaming cans sound out the box? Well, I'm pleased to say that the HC 2.2s for their price actually sound pretty good indeed. There's a nice mid-range punch to them, although I was leaving a little bit kind of wanting more, as it were, in terms of a little bit more on the low end. Some kind of more budget gaming headsets opt for more of a lower end bassy rumble, and so I was kind of expecting that, and left a little bit kind of, as I say, short-changed in that regard. But for gaming, these sound pretty good indeed. But what about when you've once you've turned the game off and you want to put your feet up and listen to music or a film, for instance. While the HD 2.2s, as I say, that mid-range boost means that dialogue's pretty clear in these things, and instruments will sound rather good indeed. Although I do think that the soundstage in these is a little bit narrow. Everything feels a little bit too close together, so some more separation would have perhaps been nice. To alleviate this, there is some virtual 7.1 surround sound that can be enabled in the settings, which your mileage may vary, but can kind of improve placement of things, especially within games as such. When you enable the 7.1 surround sound and load up your favourite first-person shooter, you'll be able to spot and hear footsteps from a mile off. The HD 2.2s are pretty good for that for the price, although for music it doesn't really do much, personally anyway, but your mileage may vary. It may be the best thing you've ever heard, it may not be. But all in all, the HD 2.2s actually sound pretty good for the price, albeit with a slightly narrower than usual soundstage. So what about the microphone for the HD 2.2? Well, truth be told, you can be a judge for yourself. You're listening to it right now. It is recording in mono directly into Audacity with no post-processing or gain turned up or anything. It's kind of out-the-box sound, and how your mates would be hearing you over Discord or whichever platform you choose to use. Well, all in all, the HD 2.2 actually offers one of the better microphones that we've tested when it comes to budget headsets, and even blows headsets 2 or 3 times its price out of the water with how clear this mic sounds. Sometimes it can sound like you're talking from within a bush, as it were, or through a multi-layered, very thick mask, but the HD 2.2 actually sounds, as your voice does. It's really rather clear indeed, especially for the price. And the actual mic that the HD 2.2 uses is detachable, so you can, as you saw in the design section, take it off, pop it in a bag, and away you go. Or if you just want to store it somewhere, you can as well. So all in all, the microphone is actually one of the better points about this particular headset. So, in conclusion, should you buy Cherry's HC 2.2? Well, if you're somebody that's looking for a kind of more minimalistic and simplistic looking gaming headset with a more muted aesthetic, as it were, if you pardon the audio pun, then this is a relatively decent option. It looks good and certainly feels pretty decent for the price. The construction is rather good as well, if not with some slightly rattly plastics, then the HC 2.2 will have you covered. If you're somebody that likes a little bit of mid-range punch when it comes to your audio on more affordable headsets, then the HC 2.2 will also be pretty decent as well, and also if you're a fan of virtual surround sound. And also, if you're looking really first and foremost for a really clear microphone, the HC 2.2 is one of the better ones that we've tested. It doesn't really sound that thin as budget microphones can so often do, and it's a real major plus point of this specific headset. So really well worth a pickup if you're looking for a decent microphone. Although at roughly kind of 60 quid, 65 quid, it is a little bit on the expensive side compared to slightly more budget headsets, and you may be better off at that specific price looking for a more expensive headset that's gone on offer at such, and will probably be only another £5 or £10 up the road, which may serve you better with more features. But all in all, if you are looking for a pretty minimalistic looking headset with decent audio, then you won't go far wrong with Cherry's latest competitor. Now, all that really remains to be said is that if you've enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and of course subscribe to the channel, and indeed ring the notification bell so you don't miss any future uploads. To follow us on indeed Twitter and of course Instagram. Links should be appearing to those on the screen right about now. And of course there'll be links to the social media down in the description if you want to give us a follow, of course. And speaking of things that live down in the description, there'll be a link to the Untitled merchandise store that's hosted on Spring, where you can pick up all manner of Untitled branded things, from t-shirts to hoodies to sweatshirts to mugs, pint glasses and everything in between. And actually, if you go and check that out, there's some brand new slogan t-shirts that have just been launched on the side that if I do say so myself, look rather good indeed. So if you're into that sort of thing, there'll be links down in the description to the Spring store where you can pick that stuff up. And of course, if you like any of the kit that we feature in these videos, be it this decent HC 2.2 gaming headset or any of the other myriads of keyboards, mice, multimedia controllers, headsets, laptops, and everything in between that we've covered over the last few years, then there'll be Amazon links down in the description of those respective videos, including this one, where you can pick all that stuff up. So once again, thank you very much for watching.